press the button now. Welcome back, guys, to the Compact YouTube channel. I am here with the one and only Andy Poole, who is the one and only male Compact sponsored athlete who won his sponsorship by winning the Compact Classic at FitX last year.
That's right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
Beat Kirkham for that one, didn't I, if I remember rightly?
I'm not saying anything, but he's correct. So, we want to talk about judging because we have both judged and we both have different perspectives. And you actually, I remember Lisa saying like how like spot on you were from like straight away.
Yeah.
So I think you know what you're doing.
To me. Yeah, I've got an idea, I think. Yeah, I know what I'm looking for. And if I'm unsure, obviously, just have a little chat with Lisa. She certainly points you back in the right direction.
Yeah,
well,
is there anything?
There's no direction, but she
I know what you mean. She's good at guiding if you do need that like additional like support and stuff.
That's right, yeah.
Is there anything that surprised you when you first started judging, or maybe like any preconceptions, if that's even the word, that you had when you went into it? So for me, I didn't realise the importance of your number.
Yeah. Yes. I think the numbers are a very important thing actually, because obviously if you can't see it, then how are you meant to know, how are you showing rather the judges who you are, because they don't know you by name.
How stressful is it when you can't see the number though?
Exactly, yeah, really stressful. Yeah, really stressful. Because you can't shout, oi, like that either, You can obviously like ask Lisa and she perhaps can have a word with Mike or Rick and get them to sort of adjust it or anything, but you can't shout at that person on stage, so yeah, it's quite annoying.
So I definitely think like something that I took away from judging, and something that I would definitely like recommend to people, is practice. It sounds silly, but try and find like a badge or something and just practice doing your posing, and especially your front shot. I find this like with figure and like maybe bodybuilding, it's not as much, but definitely in bikini, where like there's so many variations to a front pose. It's so easy to like hide that badge without even realizing. And then if you see a judge doing this, I'm doing like that. I do that face, I'm like, come on, like just show me the number, but like that's something that I didn't realise the importance of until I actually like stepped into the judges like table. Yeah,
I think something else that surprised me is people turning up that you can tell haven't really sort of put the work into some of the other aspects of prep and things like that. The stage presence isn't quite as you want it to be, and that goes in, I think, with the number as well. They're just kind of almost a rabbit in the head. I mean, I know it's a very stressful thing, don't get me wrong, even now when I get on stage, it's still quite, nerve-wracking. But you can see the guys that really haven't fallen through perhaps a little bit.
I find that more with the guys than the girls, I think. Yeah. I don't know if you agree with this, but I find, especially with the guys, sometimes it is the big thing is their posing.
Yeah.
And their stage presence, that's actually the one that like...
really lets it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. You can see something coming out and it's like, oh, that looks pretty good. And when the posing, they hide their physique almost,
Yes.
Yeah.
So how does judging work then? Obviously we're just talking about like FitX and perspective, but like I think it's interesting, some people don't realise like how it actually works. So could you talk to listeners about how judging works? Like what does it look like for us when we're doing it?
So you've got a slip. Down one side you've got a place to put the competitor's number, and beside that you've got a space obviously to put where you consider they place beside that number. So let's say you've got 6 competitors on stage, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't know them by name, so they're basically numbers.
Yeah.
And that's what the importance of obviously having that badge number there on display so you can see it means. And then from there you can make your assessments. And then you place them. So you're not getting marked down for anything. You're literally putting a number beside a number. So there's 6 athletes, and then you're saying, well, I think number 6 is number 1, number 4 is number 2. So you'll then put 1, 4, 5 beside those numbers, and that's how you place them.
Did you make the mistake of using pen?
I use pen, and then you need to start again. So
I
always
remember,
use pencil, sharp pencil as well.
I remember using pen, and I thought, I'm sold, I know that's my placing. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, no, I want to change it. So like, your placements can change like quite a lot sometimes. So that's like a biggest thing to stress as well. It's like, you are being judged the whole time, and it can change the whole time. So like, don't ever, even when you're at the back, I find that quite a lot.
Yeah.
Is at the back, you can see people start to kind of like chill?
That was actually one of the other things as well. It surprises me how much people relax at the back. You are always being judged, you know, and if it's close, sometimes your being at the back of the stage waiting can be the bit that I see. I think, that is, you know, that's better than what I'm seeing, or something along those lines. So that can be the deciding factor sometimes. It can sway you. You can change that number that you put down for number one, you know, and make a different decision at that point. So yeah, so.
Do you find male classes or female classes harder to judge?
Female. Yeah.
See, I find some female classes easier to judge than others. I find for some reason.
Yeah. So physique sort of classes I find a little easier, but bikini classes, I think just due to the sheer number sometimes of bikini girls, it's just can be overwhelming the first couple of times. You know, you get, especially with men's physique, sometimes you get about, you know, anywhere between 10 and 20 athletes sometimes on stage. So just to be able to differentiate between them, that's the harder ones for me. The men's classes I find fairly not straightforward, but a lot easier to judge and to make my choices,
yeah,
pick my winners. Yeah.
Another question that I get asked quite a lot is, do they mark the routine? So that's, say, for example, someone who's bigger, or if you are women's physique, women's bodybuilding, or like the male classes as well, aside from men's physique.
The answer to that is yes and no.
Yeah.
You're judged on your compulsories and your mandatories, and decisions are often made at that point. But like we just said there, if it's close between two athletes, the deciding factor can even be, you know, down to the routine and your stage presence. That's one of the things you'll be looking out for is stage presence.
Or even like the eye walk, I find with the eye walk for like wellness or bikini or men's physique, like sometimes at some occasions that has been the deciding factor as well.
Yeah.
You see some people kind of like give up once like the comparisons are done,
and
you're just like, oh my God, no.
Yeah. That's it. No, you like you say, you know, when you're on stage, plus you should be enjoying the time on stage. You prep for that amount of time. You're on stage sometimes for as little as 7-8 minutes, sometimes up to 15 minutes, depending on how hard they work you. That's always fun. But you want to make the most of it. So yeah, so you know, that routine is part of your presentation to the judges. So you shouldn't really go on there with the attitude of thinking, well, they're not going to be judging that part, so it doesn't really matter. And I've done that, to be fair. You know, I've never really practiced the routine because I get in my head a little bit about it, and if I make a mistake through something I've practiced, I'm likely to go, you know.
Yeah, your poker face goes,
yeah,
and then the judges realise, keep your poker face.
This is it, whereas if I don't practice anything, I can't make a mistake because it's yeah. But that's not a good idea. Well, potentially, you know, probably not the best.
I think you've made a good point there. It depends on what sort of, like, I guess, competitor you are and like what your mindset is and like stage experience. Because I'm like in between. I have like a set sort of idea what I want for an eye walk, but the end, especially at the end, especially when sometimes you don't know whether they're sending you left or right with bikini. You have to be a bit like smooth with that, because if you're only used to going right and they're saying, okay, if you can go to the left, that's going to throw you off completely.
Yeah.
So I find I have to plan half of it and then leave the other half to, not chance, but letting it flow depending on which direction. Because sometimes they want you to go left, then right, and then like back up. And if you've only learned how to do one of those, that's going to throw you off.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Last question. Because this depends on the federation, I find, but I think quite a few more federations are becoming more like this. So if someone is centre stage or they're sharing centre stage, does that automatically mean that they're in the front running?
Well, I think it's federation dependent. I know for the federation I do some judging for, it doesn't, no. It just means, say you've got a fairly large stage, and you've got 6 or 7 people on there, or a fairly large judging table, and you've got people down here, and you're all kind of stood there, you know, moving people around just gives the judges at the other end of the table the opportunity to see physiques against other physiques.
Yeah.
So that might mean that the person on the end gets put to the centre. Doesn't mean to say that, hey, he's looking great, let's put him in the centre, he's the clear winner. It just means that you know, the people down the other end of the table just want to see him stood against, I think him, her. Stood against the competitor to their left or the right of them. So no, centre stage, at least for that federation, doesn't mean that you're the outright winner.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot.
Their faces drop, don't they? You're like, no.
On the table and off the table, you see people that get moved into that centre start giving it all that, and they pretty much think they're going to walk away with it. And the other people around, oh, he's been moved to centre stage or she's been moved to centre stage. I will say this, you know, don't stop, you know, like we talked about the routine, don't stop your presentation just because someone gets moved to centre stage, because it doesn't mean that, you know, you're not in with a chance. Everybody's still within that chance to take the place.
Yeah, so I think whether you're like a spectator or if you're a competitor, like don't be thrown off by them really like swapping and changing everything, because I do think you get a different view when, for example, you're here and someone's like over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And someone's like over there.
Yeah, if you're looking at something from the side, it's not like looking at something from straight on.
Yeah.
And if you're at the side of the end of the table, then you're only going to see a physique from side on. If you need to see it straight on, so they'll move people down. And it's giving everybody, so you're being judged at the end of the day, you know, your physique's being assessed. So you're going to want to see it from all angles, and you're going to want to see it next to other competitors as well, because how can I judge the physique there to the physique there? They need to be together, you know, at least for a moment, so you can see them.
There's one, actually, I was thinking there's one last point you made before we started recording about people walking to the back, because I think when you are doing, like, for example, I'm just taking bikini, when you are doing quarter turns, you just think you're being judged in those quarter turns, and that's it, because you're not having to walk to the back like, for example, like a two bros, NPC, or even like NFM, GBO sometimes do the front and back, but a lot of federations, they just do in one spot. But you made a very good point, just because your compulsories are only in one spot, still practice your walk to the back.
Absolutely, yeah. Walking back is where I'm looking at certain things as well, especially in female competitors, from the side, front on, and even to the rear shots as well. When you're stood in a pose, things are static, things are fairly still. Whereas when you're walking back, you can't hide that. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking, you know, to see if things move. It's
the little details, because some people, you do see them go, oh, okay, that's fine, and you're just like, no, you've still got to keep that composure. And even though, I say, walking to the back isn't judged as such, it's still, again, it's all the little details, and it all makes a difference.
Could make a difference.
You've got another good point. And I do agree with what you're saying with this as well.
So bugbears, at the moment, I see a lot of it, and I don't know why. I'm not too sure why. I don't know why people do it, and it's something that I don't particularly want to do, and probably won't do. However, obviously, as the season goes on, sometimes you might not be able to turn up. If you're towards the end of the season, you might not be able to turn up as cock on as what you did to begin with. But what I don't seem to get, and what seems to be happening a lot, is people turning up and doing warm-up shows, you know, and we only wanted to turn up 70% or 90%.
That was never a thing.
Why? You know, because you should be turning up 100%. If you're putting yourself into a competition, you know, then why aren't you turning up at your absolute peak for that competition? Because that's the whole point. It's a competition.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see Blake or Bolt turning up and say, oh wow, I'll run at 90% speed today, because you don't train as an Olympian, you know, for 4 years to just have a little warm up. You do it, you know, so you put 14 weeks into a prep. Why are you turning up at 90%, 80%? Turn up 100%. Because everybody else, I'd like to think, although everybody seems to be doing warm-up shows, so everybody's on the warm-up stage. I don't quite get what that's all about. We should, perhaps there's a thing. Perhaps we start up a federation and we do the warm-up show, do you know what I mean?
The warm-up fed. But I do think, like, from a data perspective as well, if you're not turning up at 100%, you're not really getting a true, accurate representation from a data point of view, and like feedback of, okay, this is how we need to peak, this is how we need to do this and that. If you're only turning up at 80% all the time, how are you going to know how to turn up at 100%?
You don't know. I mean, how can you say, oh, we aimed for 90% this time? Are you saying you aim for 100% but only hit 90%, or are you saying you aim for 90% because you know how to hit 100% next time? I don't know why people do it. It seems to be a thing. And it's a big bugbear of mine. So if you're going to go to a show and you're putting yourself for 14 weeks, 16 weeks, 10 weeks, however long your prep is, of, you know, torture almost, if you want, turn up and make sure you've earned that, because what's the point of making you suffering for that amount of time to perhaps not place? You know?
That's the thing. It could actually be the difference between you getting the the placing you should be potentially getting just by doing that. So I do
go with the mindset that everybody else is turning up 100%.
Yeah.
So why would you turn up at 90% when everybody else is turning up at 100%?
I've forgotten one last thing.
Go on.
British finals invites.
Yeah, British finals invites. And again, this is another reason as to why perhaps you don't want to turn up at 90%, 80%. Let's say there's 2 of you in your class and you've turned up at 90% and mate's turned up at 90%. So there's got to be a winner. There's only 2 of you, so there's a first and second place. Now, most people would assume that because you've won, you're going to get an invite to the British finals. Well, that isn't always the case.
No.
You have to be good enough to be invited to the British finals, no matter what fed you're in.
But yeah, it's not guaranteed. That's the main point though.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed. So yeah, so you can turn up at 90%, someone else can turn up at 90%. It has to be a winner, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get an invite to that British finals. So you know, you have to fit the, you have to earn that position. You can't just turn up and just expect because you've won, you're going to get an invite to the British finals. So, you know, turn up 100% because then you know you're guaranteed. Not necessarily, but you are going to.
You're giving it, yeah, you're giving it 100%. You're giving it like nothing's like left off the table.
No.
But
You've
I do
turned
agree.
every stone.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
But that was a good episode, and it's mad, isn't it, how much like you can learn and you take it on board. Like for me, judging has helped me become better at advising compact with like me as a competitor. So I do advise like if there's any opportunity that you can, like if it's shadow judging, like it is such an interesting perspective.
It is, because essentially everybody thinks they're a judge when they're in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's crew considers that they know everything, and you know that should have been that, should have been that, and should have been that. But when you actually break it down and you know how it's scored, there's no favouritism. You can't pick a winner. You can't, you know, make it so that someone's going to win, because the top score and the bottom score is lopped off anyway. And it's just how many people thought number 6 was number 1.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not going, you know, like that. It's an individual opinion on the day.
There you go. I love this. Thank you so much, Andy.
No
I
worries.
hope that has been an interesting one. Any thoughts or like you want to get in touch with us, drop them in the comments. We'd be really interested to hear what you think to this. And we'll see you guys in the next video. But apart from that, I'll leave all Andy's details so you can go and connect with him and follow him as he goes to take on the Kirkham next year.
2023.
2023.
The rematch.